Hello there, and thanks for staying with us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Welcome to People, Politics, and Power. I am Imoni Amarere. Now, since the ruling All Progressives Congress submitted the recommendations of its Committee on True Federalism to the national leadership of the party, we have been engaging with the various recommendations in that report. Today on the program, we shall be interrogating the issue of local government administration. In the report presented by the party to the public on Wednesday, that's January 31st, in Abuja, the nation's capital, the El-Rufai-led committee recommended the removal of local governments from the constitution as a tier of government. The committee said local government as a third tier of government is an aberration and has no place in the federal system of government in any modern democracy. It recommended, and I quote, that states be allowed to develop a local administrative system that is relevant and peculiar to each respective state. The committee further said that the Constitution ensures that there is a democratic local government system in every state, but considering the details and the nature of that local government system, the number of local governments should be left to the states and state houses of assembly. The committee did not stop there. To achieve this process, it proposed that amendments be made to sections 7, 8, and 162 and the first schedule part 1 of the Constitution, Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, to give effect to the recommendations made by it. Now, Nigeria has 774 local government areas. Each local government council consists of a chairman who is the chief executive and other elected members who are referred to as councillors. They are charged with the administration of each local government area. Now, each local government area is further subdivided into wards with a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 15 for each local government. That is how it stands today in Nigeria. Now, joining me to look at this issue are a member of the APC Committee on True Federalism, a former executive governor of Edo State, and a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor OSARIEMEN OSUNBOR. Thank you so much for finding the time to join us.
It's my pleasure.
And also joining us is the President, National Union of Local Government Employees, NULGE, IBRAHIM KHALIL. Thank you so much for finding the time to join us.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine.
All right, welcome to the program. Now, before we go into discussions, let's take a look at what happened in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, on Thursday, where former President Olusegun Obasanjo formally registered as a member of the Coalition for Nigeria movement. We do apologize for that. That was a wrong insert. We'll actually be taking a look at Chief Olusegun Obasanjo when he registered as a member of the Coalition for Nigeria Movement, CNM, in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, on Thursday, following closely after former governor of Osun State, Olagunjoye Oyinlola, and former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, actually made the intentions of that movement known and public in Abuja just 2 days before. If we have that insert from Abeokuta now, let's go take it and then we'll come back and have our discussion.
Mobilize Nigerians for a new political awareness. Nigeria in the hands of God. Coming a day after some of the former president's known political associates gathered in Abuja to officially unveil the platform called the Coalition for Nigeria Movements Abeokuta, Obasanjo's base, is just the natural location to introduce the new movement to southern Nigeria, with the former president officially becoming a member.
Sorry, I won't hurt you, sir.
If the instruments we have used so far in our nation building and governance since independence have not served us well, it is imperative that we should rethink and retool.
An address of the gathering by the former president revealed more about the coalition, which is described as a popular socio-economic movement designed to be a vehicle to give hope to the youth, dignity and encouragement to women, as well as security, confidence and a promising future to all Nigerians.
Coalition for Nigeria movement is proposed as the new direction to mobilize our population for unity, cooperation, development, rule of law, employment, law and order, justice, integration, peace, security, stability, welfare and well-being. In these regards, special attention and space must be given to youth and women.
For some of the supporters of the former president who already bought into the idea, the coalition is the exact solution that Nigeria desires at this challenging moment.
We shared part of his concern and we want this nation to move forward.
We want to form this coalition now so that people can see we are up to something, looking for something for Nigeria.
The movement is a means to an end. The end is Nigeria unshackled, united, dynamic, strong, secure, cohesive, stable, and prosperous at home and respected outside.
The former president and other leaders of the coalition are yet to decide if the platform will eventually transform into a political party. Their concern for now appears to be how to mobilize Nigerians from across political divides to give the country a new political and leadership direction beginning from 2019.
The Nigeria of our dream, the Nigeria we need, is the united, indissoluble and cohesive Nigeria which guarantees equity, fairness, justice and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics and power on AIT. Join us to build bridges of unity.
Thank you for staying with us. With the Coalition for Nigeria movement, bring about the Nigeria of our dreams, where we work and hope. But in the studio with me to take a look at local government administration based on the recommendations of the APC True Federalism Committee is a professor of law, a former senator, a former governor of Edo State, Professor OSARIEMEN, OSUNBOR, and the president of NULGE. And he is KHALIL. Thank you so much, Alhaji KHALIL, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Prof, let's begin with you. The recommendations of your committee has elicited a lot of excitement. It has received knocks. It has received commendations from across board and all of that. How do you feel as a member of that committee that the work of your committee is generating so much debate and excitement?
Well, thank you. I must say that I'm elated. I'm happy that after months of hard work, that the final outcome, which is the recommendations that we have, the report and recommendations we made to the party, has elicited so much interest. As you said, as is to be expected, many people speaking in favor, very happy to see that we have made such strides, very important strides, towards addressing some of the nagging issues that have been troubling our country for a very long time. They are quite elated to see that some progress has been made towards addressing those issues. And as you will also expect, there are people who will say that maybe we didn't go far enough, or those who want to pick holes in the report and recommendations for one reason or another. That is to be expected. But as I said, it would have been very different if this report was released and nobody was interested in it. Then I would have been worried. But every Nigerian is interested in the report, either for or against, or maybe neutral. As we progress and go forward, I believe, and through the support of the media, just like the program we are having now, many more Nigerians will come to appreciate the good things that are contained in this report. And through the cooperation of all the stakeholders, from the legislative, the executive arms of government, and everybody, including the political parties, will be able to galvanize enough support to translate these recommendations into reality to the benefit of all Nigerians and for the purpose of enthroning more and more of good governance in order to address some of the nagging issues that have stunted the development of Nigeria for very many years. I'm glad.
Prof, let me stay with you because our focus on this program today is on local government administration. One of the recommendations made by your committee. And of course, that does not preclude us from looking at one or two other of the recommendations that may dovetail into local government administration as we go along. But what we want to know, what was the underlying basis for the recommendation of the committee in saying, for instance, that local governments should not be a tier of government and should be made the responsibility of the states. That is, states should have the responsibility of determining the number, the size, and the shape which local governments are to take. As against what obtains right now with the 1999 Constitution as amended, that clearly outlines and lists local governments as a third tier of government.
Well, let me say again that our approach towards this work was to consult widely with Nigerians, to take on board some of the recommendations, utterances, position papers that so many Nigerians have come up with, to look at the reports of previous conferences, previous confabs, and then from the angle of the expertise and knowledge of members of the committee, we were able to reach a certain decision. So it's not just that this was how we felt, but that this is what Nigerians, the general consensus amongst Nigerians. Of course, there are people who want the status quo to remain, but we felt that we needed to make this recommendation for a number of reasons. The number one reason, and perhaps the most important reason, is that we operate a federal system. And in virtually every country of the world that operates a federal system, there are two tiers of government: the federal government and then the state government. The federating units are the states, not local governments. The third tier comes under the states. If you look at whether it's America, in fact, practically every federal system. You don't have any federal system where you have three tiers: federal, state, and local government. So what we've been having in Nigeria, as the background report mentioned, has been an aberration. And we felt that we should solve that. The second reason is that the reality of the situation that we have now is that the local government, government councils are really controlled to a very large extent by the state houses of assembly and by the governors in the states. So why don't we recognize this reality and allow the states to really administer the local government system in the way they consider best to approach this issue? And by doing all this, we will also be able to solve some of the problems that this country has experienced in the past, whereby some states have tried to create, they felt that they needed to create more local governments in order that governance at that level goes as far down as possible because democracy thrives on grassroots participation. And that by bringing local government system to the grassroots as much as possible, you'll be enhancing democracy. Of course, the recommendation emphasizes that we will continue to have democratically elected governments even at the local government level, but they will not be under to be established, the structure, the establishment, the composition, the administration of a local government system should be by law made by the state houses of assembly. So if a state wants to create many local governments, as many as it wishes or as few as it wishes, that would be the responsibility of the state to do. You also know that many states have tried to bypass the requirements of Section 7, which are considered stringent, by creating community development areas. An attempt to sidetrack the rigor of Section 7 of the Constitution. So we've tried to remove all these rigors, all these difficulties, because the National Assembly up to now, after about 18 years, has not been able to, for one reason or the other, to recognize these additional local government areas or community development associations, because that is what the Constitution requires. So it was felt that let us do away with all these things, free the local government system, allow the states to administer the local government systems based on the peculiarities, the history, the culture, the tradition, and the preferences of the people of those states. That informed the decision.
Good enough.
And of course, the issue of the state local government joint account. You also know that that has elicited a lot of debate and problems. And through these recommendations, we'll be able to lay to rest the controversies that have trailed the state local government joint account.
Mr. Ibrahim, Mr. Khalil,
Yeah.
do you see that as a positive development or one that NULGE does not favor?
Well, I will want to start sincerely by acknowledging the fact that APC as a party had come up with something that is reasonable by way of organizing the public hearing across the country, putting the committee in place, trying to, bring all the ideas on board. That is appreciated by NULGE and by all well-meaning Nigerians. But our concern particularly is on the area of the federalism they try to define, which to us and to our own understanding, federalism differs in approach from country to country, depending on your peculiarities. So it's not, I think, and we believe it's not appropriate for Nigeria at this critical time to continue copying others. We need to domesticate this concept of federalism, look at our own peculiarities, what will work for us. Our belief is that what works for America and other developed nations may not work for Nigeria. And we need to look inward and address certain issues that are burning in our polity. And one of the issues the Prof, His Excellency here, already raised, that the issue of inclusive platform, providing an inclusive platform that will address the issue of so many agitations and divisions in our country. And the only way you can address that aspect of our problem is by having a functional local government system, a democratic local government system, a local government system that is free from unnecessary encroachment by anybody in power. We witnessed sincerely from 1999 to date how particularly the state government interfere too much in the local government administration, in the area of democracy, in the area of its finances, and the total administration of local government in totality.
In other words, what obtains now seem not to be working.
It's not working
as a system.
It's not.
Yes.
But our own position is very clear. What we want is a more independent local government based on the need of Nigerian people. And if truly Nigerians desire a free local government, as we have been championing the campaign, the APC as a party should be able to listen to Nigerians, because the APC and the committee should not abrogate such, belief that they know better than Nigerians.
The committee went around across Nigeria, went to all the 6 geopolitical zones, had public hearings, took recommendations and received representation from different groups. At the end of the day, well over 8,000 or so representations were made. And from that, he synthesized the report and the recommendations that he made. Did NULGE at any point?
We participated in all the 6 geopolitical zones, and we know what transpired during the process. And our belief is that some aspect of the report or the recommendation of the committee did not reflect the true position of the people that participated in those public hearings. And in most of the presentation made, we were there. Our representations were in all the 6 geopolitical zones. The agitation for more free local government, for more independent local government is there.
And you do not believe that this recommendation that says make local governments a responsibility of the states will make local governments have a lot more freedom and a lot more autonomy that you desire?
As practitioners of local government, we believe that the only thing that hold local government to this time was the mentioning of the names of the local government in the Constitution. Without that, in the Constitution from 1999 to date, I bet you in some states, state government may decide to even abolish the entire system. So that's the only security that held local government in existence up to this moment. So for the committee to recommend removing the list or delisting the local government from the Constitution, we believe we condemn it in totality as a unit.
Has NULGE really taken into consideration what may be the real desire of the ordinary Nigerians who live in these local governments, or is he just protecting his own interest, his own corporate interest as a union?
NULGE is a workers' union.
Yes.
And we are talking of the democracy of the local government, the functionality of the local government. How would local government function?
The number of local government workers compared to the citizens who live in those local governments cannot be compared. But have you really taken into consideration
let me quickly
what the people who operate, who live and operate in those local governments want as against the desire of the union, of NULGE as a union?
Let me quickly refresh your mind on particularly the constitutional amendment process held by the 7th Assembly. The 7th Assembly did a holistic approach on this issue of local government by taking the public hearing to 360 federal constituencies. And out of these 360 federal constituencies we have in Nigeria, almost 327 voted for an independent local government. And that clearly reflects the position of Nigerian people. And if you are also following the debate from the beginning of the process by this 8th Assembly, up to this moment we are talking about, the truth is that Nigerians people need their local government more than even the state government. And they want it more free, a local government that would be truly their own, a democratic local government devoid of unnecessary interference by the state government. Oh. And if you look at the bill that is already lying in the state assemblies, 3 state assemblies so far passed this bill in favor of pre-local government. And what really happened before passing the bill by the 3 state assemblies is because they took the bill to public hearing, to public domain, and the people within the state overpowered the state assembly to the point that they cannot, tinker with the opinion of the people. practical example was what happened yesterday in Bauchi. After the State Assembly, Bauchi State Assembly conducted public hearing, they came to understand that truly Bauchi State people need a pre-local government. And that was exactly what happened in Cross Rivers. And you can see the 3 states that passed the bill, 2 are from APC and 1 is from PDP. So devoid of any party affiliation, if you are truly going to respect the opinion of the people, and that is all about democracy.
Okay.
And APC should be able to do that.
All right.
Yes.
Prof, I need you to respond to some of the issues that he has raised, particularly when he says that the inclusion of local governments in the Nigerian constitution is a peculiarity, is peculiar to Nigeria's federalism, as opposed to any other federalism in the world.
Yes, Imoni, he did say that, but before he said that, he also mentioned that every country should adopt the system that works for it.
Yes.
And that is very important. The local government system, as it currently is under the 1999 Constitution, does not seem to be working for us. And there are very few people who would dispute that. Because he is there. There are many people who are of the view that the state governments are not able, for instance, to operate a local government system that covers all the areas that they want to cover in their state and do those things that they want to do in their states for the benefit of the people at the grassroots. That is why Lagos State, for instance, spearheaded it. I believe Lagos was the first state that created, increased from about, is it 24 or 21 to about
57 or thereabout.
About 57. But the Constitution requires that for those local governments to be recognized, whether by the Constitution or by any other authority, the National Assembly has to approve them. And that has not happened now. About 15, at least 14, 15 years since then. But Lagos State has been operating those systems. Other states followed suit and created what they call community development areas, which in reality are local government areas, as an attempt to bypass the
provision of the
hurdles placed there by the Constitution. So why don't we recognize the reality that what we have in the Constitution is not working for us? People are bypassing it by amending the Constitution to allow people to create local governments as they deem fit. The fear of President of NULGE, KHALIL, is that people want independent local government systems. People want, because at the time there were no local government systems in Nigeria. I think it was in the 70s that the government then set up a committee to look at how to reintroduce
the 1976 local government reform.
Yes, reform.
Yes.
And it has come to stay. And the recommendations that we have made ensure that the system of local government through democratically elected local government system is preserved under the Constitution. But as to the issue of creation, how many local governments you should create, how you run those local governments, the structure of those local governments, the tenure of office of elected officials under that local government, that shouldn't be a responsibility of the federal government or the Constitution. So that is what has been liberalized, because democracy is about people. Let the people decide what is best for them. And as he said, it is all about the system that works best for the people. What we have now is not working in the best interest of the people. This is an opportunity people have been talking about, true federalism, restructuring. This is something that should be done in response to those agitations. And Nigerians should not feel shy or afraid to embrace this change. And ultimately, there may be hiccups. Usually the beginning of everything is difficult, but gradually people will get used to the system. If one state is not doing what is right, the people of that state will say, why are you not emulating so-and-so state? So the other state is doing what is right. We insist that our government in this state must emulate the other state that is operating it efficiently and do what is right for our people. That way, we'll be able to elevate the quality of governance of our people, and democracy will work better for our people and enhance the well-being of people, particularly at that level of governance.
Mr. Khalil, the provision in that report that says that local governments must remain democratically elected councils, isn't that enough guarantee for what you are looking for? Because as it is today, even the system that we run today, you agree that the local governments are not functioning as independently as they should be, and that even when they are listed in the constitution, they are under the control and dictatorship of state governments.
Well, I want to sincerely disagree with that position of the committee, because if we go by what we experienced, as I said, from 1999 to date, even when these local governments were listed in the constitution, even when these local governments were mentioned and their functions are spelled out in the constitution, somebody somewhere hijacked it. Talk less of asking that person or that body to be responsible for their existence, for their creation, for their funding, for their democracy. That is catastrophic. And that will be the end of local government. That aspect of the committee's recommendation, to us, we see it as against the existence of the entire system. So what we need as Nigerians, we are all Nigerians, we know how we behave, and we know how our attitude towards governance. And we know the powers of the state governments, particularly the governors of the state, how they treat local governments throughout these years. This is a system whereby even when the Section 7 of the Constitution guaranteed for a democratically local government representation, even the chairman of the committee as a governor did fail to organize election in Kaduna State. So what are you saying? These are the peers. So by the time you delisted local government, I bet you that will be the end of local government system in Nigeria.
But as it is today, even with all the guarantees that are provided in the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution as amended, with all those guarantees that we have read out now, the local governments in your own words, not, I mean, in your own view, not in the exact words, are still in shackles. So what is the alternative? Shouldn't we just follow the recommendations that have been made by this committee and let the local governments come under the purview of states? What is the alternative?
The alternative had already been on the 5 line.
Which
a lot of Nigerians have been discussing on how to better local government system, including our union. We interacted at various levels in different fora, up to the National Assembly. We made a lot of presentations, and we held a lot of researches on how local government can better in Nigeria.
In summary, what is that recommendation?
One is the election into local government. The list of the local government as they were in the constitution should be maintained. Secondly,
so you are aware that there are
I'm coming.
For more local government in various states.
I'm coming to that. Yes. Secondly, the encumbrances that were provided in the constitution that made it very difficult for states to create additional local government should be removed. Again, the conduct of local government elections should be anchored by the INEC itself, because some state government came out openly and admitted that they don't even have the financial capacity to organize election. And if you are now pushing it to them, how could they?
But an INEC that is already overburdened, the INEC is saying, look, take some of the responsibilities that we have constitutionally from us. Dismember this body, unbundle it, that's the language they have been using. Unbundle this body and make us lighter. Is that same INEC you want to conduct local government?
But the truth is that the same INEC did conduct election across the board before, and it had been more credible than what we are witnessing in local government today. Secondly, what we need for local government to function, as I said, is not delisting them from the constitution, is to remove the encumbrances that made it difficult to create more local government. I quite agree with.
But that's part of the recommendation.
Yeah, I quite agree with that, but that does not warrant removing them from the constitution and putting everything to the state government. I'm telling you, by the time this recommendation of this APC committee scale through, that is the end of local government system in Nigeria. Because no governor will respect any provision given to him in his own control to organize local government the way they ought to be organized.
The fear, Prof, of NULGE and those who are opposed to this recommendation on local government administration is that local governments will disappear once they become the sole responsibility of state governments. As it is today, they do not have financial autonomy, as it were, because you mentioned the joint account system and all of that. If you now shift the burden on the state governments to create local governments, to administer the local governments, and most of all, conduct local government elections and all of that, their concern is that local governments will become totally non-functional.
Well, these are some of the fears being expressed. But what worries me is a situation where people will say that they don't have confidence in the governor that they elected. Where people of a state will say, yes, we elected Mr. A to be our governor, but we don't trust him with our local government system. I think something is fundamentally wrong with that approach. We should be able to hold our governors accountable. We should be able to ensure that if there are impediments, to remove those impediments. Part of what people have been saying generally is that Nigeria is a federation, but is running as if
as a unitary
system. And the suggestions that I'm hearing now is to further compound that, to make Nigeria more of a unitary system, that elections to council in my village should be superintended from Abuja. That runs against the very notion of federalism. And our committee is Committee on True Federalism. How do we ensure that the federal system of government in Nigeria operates better? So a recommendation that, or suggestion, that Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, National Commission should be supervising election of the councillor representing in my ward, I think is not something that should be encouraged. As we are trying to see how the federal system in Nigeria can operate better, how we can bring about restructuring, which people have been talking about, how we can bring about devolution, unbundling of the responsibilities at the federal government to the state level. This is an issue that shouldn't really require too much debate, and that people should accept that they must hold their state governments accountable. They have elected members of the State House of Assembly, hold them accountable. All these things that you want the National Assembly to do, that you want INEC to do, ensure that the members that you elected to represent you at the State House of Assembly hold their governors accountable. Democracy has to work in Nigeria. We cannot continue to run away from it. We must assume responsibility of ensuring that the system works for our people. So attempting to shift the responsibility to somebody else, to me, is not advancing the cause of democracy and federalism in Nigeria.
Mr. Khalil, if this system that is being proposed is working in other federal democracies, where, for instance, the state assemblies are the ones that enact laws that govern the conduct of local government administration and all of that. If it is working in these places, whether developed or underdeveloped, I believe that Ghana is at par with Nigeria in terms of developmental status. If it's working in a place like Ghana, is working in the US or working in Britain, which are developed democracy, why can't we make it work here and work better even?
Yeah, is one, I want us to understand the fact that as we keep on mentioning, democracy is about people. And the opinion of people must be always respected and carried on board. And if these issues have been in the public domain for many years, and Nigerians have been talking in this tone, and only few individuals gathered and believed because maybe they are more closer to the power, it should be this way, not the way people want it. That is not also democracy in itself. Because democracy, you must respect people. You must respect what people want. And if Nigerians really want an independent local government, so be it. Because that is democracy. And secondly, if you look at other countries, like you mentioned, like Ghana is not a full federal arrangement. And their local government system is unitary. That is what is on ground in Ghana. And if you look at US, United States,
it's not unitary. It's run by the regional governments.
Yes,
the local government administration is run by the regional governments.
Yeah, but
the equivalent of our state governments.
Yeah, I agree with you, but the Ghana's policy is closer to unitary than federalism. It's not federal in nature. You need to need to look at it closely. And if you are talking of full federal arrangement like United States of America, it also differs from our approach. If you look at each of the 54 states of United States of America, each state has its own constitution. While in Nigeria we have only one constitution, where everybody in authority drive his authority from.
Isn't that what we are moving towards now with this restructuring move? Are we not moving closer to the ideal? But we have got to start from somewhere.
Okay, so you are now proposing to have a state government without constitution and without clear constitutional prohibition on how to run local government at state level, leaving the local government in the hand of the state governments. That will not work.
The unitary one that we have at the moment, that is run, as it were, that draws its power from the constitution and gets its allocations from the federal allocation and all of that, is it working?
That is why we recommend some things to correct those anomalies by strengthening the local government, ensuring that democracy is enshrined in the local government.
Can the local government be strengthened in your recommendations along the lines of these new recommendations? Can we not make the local governments stronger and more independent, even when they are a creation of states?
I'm telling you, there is no way they can be. There won't even be a stability in terms of administering local government under state government. That is the truth. And there won't be continuity. Any governor that took over,
there will be laws made by the state assemblies that will establish them. So they will establish the tenure of these local governments, and once it's been established by law, it becomes as it is today. Is it not state governments that wake up one day and dissolve local government, even when we are run as it is now in this unitary format that we are? State governments wake up, dissolve local governments, and choose when and when not to conduct.
And that is what we want to. That is what we want to protect. That is what we want to protect, because in any situation, you allow local government to be so porous in the hand of the government of the state, it won't function.
It means that the people of those states are not holding their governors and their governments accountable.
We are all Nigerians. We know what is on ground. We are all Nigerians. And we know how powerful the governors at state level are and how lawless they are. We know all this. Even when I get practical example of Section 7 of the current constitution. No governor should be above constitution. But how many governors conduct local government election? As I gave example, even the chairman that chairs this APC committee as a governor, he couldn't.
Has NULGE at any time gone to court to challenge?
We went many times.
I mean, so what is the outcome?
They don't respect the court orders. That is the truth. We are all Nigerians. Even when there is order, they don't respect it. Recently, one of the orders, it was even Supreme Court judgment against Ekiti state government under the former governor, Payemi, who decided to also remove elected local government council chairmen, and they went to court, up to the Supreme Court. And the judgment is very free, it's there. So we really have our own peculiarities as a nation, and if we want to move ahead, we must not run away from those peculiarities.
Okay. Prof, let me come to you and very quickly look at one or two other issues so that, because we do not have the opportunity of having you here every day. The onshore-offshore recommendation seems to be creating some doubts, some confusion in the minds of people. Your committee has recommended, look, onshore mineral resources should be the responsibility of states. Offshore, that of the federal government. What happens to the offshore resources that go to the federal government? Is it exclusively to the federal government, or will states still share from the proceeds from the resources of offshore?
Well, I will answer that question, but let me just quickly say that what I have had so far amounts to a vote of no confidence on state governors and state governments in Nigeria. And an attempt to strengthen the unitary system of governance in Nigeria, which goes quite against the popular clamor for true federalism. We should be moving towards achieving more and more federal system of governance rather than moving towards unitary system of governance, and having the federal government and the federal institutions, National Independent Electoral Commission, superintending even elections at the local government level. That runs against the grain of federalism. Now and of course this report does not, and recommendations are at variance with that, and I believe this is better for Nigeria. Coming to the question that you asked about onshore, offshore. Again, the clamor has been that we return to the old system, maybe right from pre-independence system to the 1963 Constitution, when states owned these resources within their states. That has been the agitation. And that of course, you know the Land Use Act. Under the Land Use Act, the land belongs to the state. And it's argued that if that is the case, the land in the state is held in trust by the governor of the state, then everything above the land and under the land should as well belong to the state, which includes mineral resources. That is the principle that so many people want to see operate. The argument is that every state has land. So whatever, that is the argument, that is, which informed this recommendation, which therefore means that you should enjoy the benefit of resources, natural resources, on, above, or under the land of the state, but not those in the sea, because that is within the jurisdiction of the federal government. There has to be a trade-off in these things. There has to be a trade-off, and the trade-off is that if you want to have exclusive ownership, this time it's not just talking of 50%, exclusive ownership of the minerals, resources, natural resources in your state.
That's onshore.
Then you don't leave the federal government must be funded. We are not scrapping the federal system of the federal government. The federal government needs to have revenue of its own. And so offshore resources can be considered a possible revenue source
for the federal government, exclusively.
As to whether it will be exclusive, of course, we know that in some states, even those operating offshore, they don't stay there permanently. They have a base on the shore.
Yes.
As to whether that can be quantified and built into the derivation system is for the revenue allocation, mobilization, and fiscal commission to iron out, because the fine details of how you apportion revenue, how much goes to the federal government, how much to the state, how much
to the local government,
what weight do you attach to land mass, what weight do you attach to derivation, what weight do you attach to population. Those are too technical and too detailed for us members of the committee to have gone into and resolved successfully.
So this is just a template for...
Yes, it's a template.
Yes.
We believe that the revenue allocation, mobilization, allocation, and fiscal commission may have the resources and the expertise to be able to work out these details. The derivation principle remains.
Okay.
Because derivation is not only with respect to petroleum. There may be derivation from other sources, and so the issue of derivation will remain, and we also recommended an upward review of the percentage for derivation.
From 13 to what?
Again, we couldn't reach
you left
figure.
that. Okay.
We left that because the Constitution says that the figure should be revised from time to time. But
not less than 13%.
Not less than 13%.
All
but
right.
He didn't say by who. We are now saying the revenue mobilization
and fiscal commission
should be the body that should be revising this.
Thank you very much. We've been on people, politics, and power, and my guests have been Professor OSARIEMEN OSUNBOR, a professor of law, a former governor of Edo State, former senator of the Federal Republic, a member of the APC Committee on True Federalism. Thank you so much for finding time to join us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And the president of NULGE, that is the National Union of Local Government Employees, IBRAHIM KHALIL. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's our program for this Friday. Thank you for investing your time with us. We'll see you again at the other side of the weekend when we bring you a fresh edition of the program. Do have yourself a wonderful time for the rest of today. My name is Imoni Amarere. Bye for now.